Back in my early 20s, I was trying to kick a major 4-year heroin addiction. Like I said, trying on my own, which meant that I wasn't using as much and it would be months in between. On this faithful day, someone had given me 2 OC80s. This was when the price of such goodies hadn't reached the almost $100 a piece mark. I had never seen these, as they were fairly new on the streets, so after getting off of work at the little coffee shop I worked at, I popped the 2 teeny tiny treats in my mouth and hopped on the train to head into Boston to go see one of my favorite punk bands. Now, anyone who knows about kicking a habit, when you start to use less, your tolerance goes down. So the number one rule there is to use less than you're used to. And I had no idea how strong one of these things were. And like I said, major habit, so of course I took them both. And for those who don't know, 1 OC80 is enough to let a 200-pound junkie feel good. So being a 110-pound girl that hasn't touched this stuff in a couple of months, I don't even remember the show. Never mind do I know how I got on the train and off at my stop. Anyways, by the time I got to my ratty little borough of Beantown, I was throwing up every 20 feet or so. I could barely keep my eyes open, but I didn't live in a very good part of the city, and curling up on a corner and hoping I didn't die was not an option. So I propped myself along the walls and was trying to inconspicuously hurl while trying to make the 5 blocks to my apartment. I was about halfway there when I noticed a shitty car going really slow behind me. I figured whoever was in it was looking for a hooker. The part of town I lived in, anyone could be a hooker. So I just turned and looked at him and shook my head. This was usually enough to get them to drive on. It wasn't this time. Guy pulls up right next to me in this like 30-year-old crappy green Honda or something and says in a very thick and what I'm guessing is a Korean accent, "You need help? Get in, get in." The man looked to be about 30 and of Asian descent, dressed in jeans, blue tattered t-shirt, and I kid you not, a tux jacket. That has nothing to do with anything, I just thought it was strange. Living in Boston, you see some strange stuff. Now, even being a junkie / punk chick, I was always a polite girl who was so nice to strangers as to not hurt any feelings, and because of this, I would get myself into dangerous situations, and I knew this. So I just wiped the puke off of my mouth and smiled at the guy and said, "Thanks, but my boyfriend is waiting for me just down the street." There was no boyfriend, and I actually had quite a bit of blocks to cover, but I was nice, not stupid. Well, not that stupid, considering the pill-sickened state I had put myself in. Mr. Man says, "You sick, you need ride." Okay, guy can't take a hint. I told him again that I didn't need a ride, but thanks. I started to walk faster and crossed the street. Unfortunately, it was a one-way and he pulled up close enough to the curb that he could grab me from the driver's side. Alright, now I'm getting scared. It's almost 3 a.m. and no one is out on this side street. "No, you get in now." I was feeling really sick and embarrassed at this point. I was trying to hold off throwing up in front of this guy, and I know I'm about to hurl again and I'm getting pissed. So I yelled, "No, I know get in now. Look dude, I'm not gonna suck your dick, so just fucking leave." And then I puked. Now, I was always on the small side and hung around and lived in places where it was a good idea to have some sort of protection. Tonight, I had my gravity knife tucked in my boot, so when Mr. Good Samaritan started to get out of his car as I was bent over, I pulled it and let the blade slide out as I stood up and said, "Please just leave me the fuck alone." His eyes focused on the knife and he got back into his car. Like I had said before, his car was a piece of shit, so when he took off, it was really loud. I watched him turn the corner and started back on my wall crawl home. As I turned the next corner, lo and behold, there he was at the end of the street. He took off again when he saw me stop and stand there looking at him. But the whole way back home, I would either see him or hear his muffler. I still hadn't put my knife away because I knew if he actually got a hold of me, I was in no condition to be able to get him off of me without a lucky stab. He actually drove by me as I was fighting to open the door to my crappy little duplex. My roommate and I lived on the bottom floor, but once I got in, I felt pretty safe enough to crawl to the couch and pass out because my roommate's big-ass skinhead boyfriend was there. And they have this pit bull something mix who was a love bug but smart enough to know when not to be. When I finally woke up the following evening, those things really fucking hit me hard. My roomie told me she couldn't believe I had slept through all the ruckus. Apparently, the dog had started barking around 4:30 a.m. and wouldn't stop. So they let him out of the room and tried to go back to sleep. But Rudy wasn't having that, which is the dog, by the way. They came back out to tell him to shut up, and he was running back and forth between the back corner window and the window behind the couch I was passed out on. The dog was going absolutely batshit crazy, acting like he was trying to bite through the fucking glass without waking me up. My roommate later told me she had checked to make sure I hadn't OD'd and died. This was the point where my roomie's boyfriend decided to go out and check what the hell his dog was trying to kill. He grabbed the bat we kept by the door and made his way to the back where the window to the couch was. He heard a lot of noise going around the other side, and then a car starting up. A loud car. By the time he ran to the front, the car was halfway down our street. When he made his way back around to check the window Rudy was trying to eat through, there was a bunch of crates moved from under the first window he was barking at, stacked up under the window where the couch was. And the screen had been cut where you put your fingers through to open it. I always read these stories where people say I'm getting goosebumps just writing this, and I think they're being over dramatic, and now I feel like an asshole because there really is no way to describe how you feel reliving this. Over the next few weeks, the boyfriend and the dog stayed at our place because we kept hearing noises and, imagining or not, it scared the hell out of us. Quite a few times, the boyfriend would run out when we hear something and would sometimes even catch a glimpse of the guy as he went around a corner, but he was never fast enough. The boyfriend would blame it on the guy being, quote, ninja fast, but we just knew he was too slow. Some may ask us why we didn't just let the dog out. This was a point in time in my state where they were thinking of outlawing pit bulls because they had a really bad rap. If we had let him out, Rudy would have caught him and that would just end bad on a lot of levels. But seriously, what kind of person still tries to get into a house with a psycho pit bull and a 6'2" skinhead trying to kill you with a baseball bat? Now you might ask why we didn't call the cops. Well, like I had said, I was into some pretty bad stuff, and as a rule, punks don't like cops. However, the neighborhood I lived in, we all talked to each other and some of them were cop callers. My next door neighbor knew what was going on and called the cops one night when she heard someone in her kitchen. She lived alone. She locked herself in the bathroom and started yelling that the cops were on their way, but this guy was persistent. He was trying to pop the lock from outside until he actually heard sirens and then he booked it. The lady said she heard a loud car start and looked out the bathroom window that faced the street to see, you guessed it, a crappy old green car drive away. When I heard about this, I felt really bad. I mean, this lady is like 87 or so and lives alone. What would have happened if the dude got in? Why, oh why didn't we just let Rudy eat him? When the cops finally got there, the three of us were outside, so they started asking us if we had heard or seen anything. So we told them what had been going on, and I gave a description of who I thought was doing it, but also said I wasn't sure of the details because I hadn't been feeling well at the time. The cop that was writing it down almost threw his pad and pen down, saying that if people like us, I don't know if he meant punk rock, smartened up and called the police, they would have caught the guy. Apparently, Mr. Get In Now fit the same description as a guy that they were looking for that was wanted for quite a few sexual assaults around the train station. Now I felt really bad, but still had to give the cop lip over the people like us statement. But that's not the point. I've been clean for over 15 years and don't live near town anymore, so I'm pretty sure I would handle things differently now. And I know that if I hadn't been messed up, then I would have. As far as I know, they never caught the guy. Back in December of 2004, wow, it doesn't even seem real. It's been over 10 years. I was living in Portland, Oregon, attending college. I was sitting at home one night writing my last research paper for the term. I had my Yahoo IM up, chatting to a few friends, when a message from someone not on my friends list pops up. Have you ever thought about suicide? Okay, weird, but hey, it's almost midnight on a Sunday night and stranger things have been asked to me before, like, can I see your tits, etc. So I messaged the stranger back for kicks. Sure, who hasn't at some point? Why? Well, asking that question opened Pandora's box. He battered me with questions about how I wanted to die, why did I want to die, would I want to die with others, etc. Obviously getting creepier and creepier as the conversation continues. But I play along. I'm assuming the guy is just fucking around with me. I ask him his name and he says it's Jerry, and I ask to see a picture of him. He sends me to a profile pic on Hot or Not and asks me if I think he's good looking. I tell him sure, yeah, you're cute or whatever. He asked to see a picture of me, and I send him a random old photo of a girl on my MySpace friends list. Yes, it's that old, I realize now. And he tells me that he thinks I'm a 10. Wow, awesome. Thanks, Jerry, who's obsessed with suicide. As the conversation continues, he tells me that he's sick of his life and women don't seem to be attracted to him, so he wants to end it all. I tell him the things you're supposed to say to people in this situation. Relationships are nothing, you're more important to the people in your life, don't do it, blah blah blah. I'm not heartless, but I just don't feel like talking someone off of a ledge at around 1 a.m. Jerry tells me that he's met a lot of women online that want to kill themselves and that he's planning a party for Valentine's Day, which is 1.5 months from now, so everyone can come and do it together at his house in Klamath Falls, Oregon. He then asks me if I'm interested in joining. I say, yeah, sure, but I make an excuse that I don't have a car to get down there for it. He tells me that there are a few women from Portland coming down for it, and one of them has a van. He's sure I can catch a ride with them. He says that he's built a beam in his home that will hold up to 50 bodies at once, but that I shouldn't wear shoes because they'll weigh me down. By now, yes, I'm starting to realize this guy is acting very serious. And this is in fact not a joke. So I start asking him specifics like what his address is, what his full name is, who are the women traveling from Portland. He tells me their names and that one of them is bringing her 5 children with her and that they want to die as well. Huge red flags are up at this point. So while I'm still chatting with him, I call a friend of mine back home in Eastern Oregon who works as a 911 dispatcher. She's actually at work when I call her, and after telling her the whole story, she advises me to hang up and call Portland Police Department right away, and at least give them the info to pass to Klamath Falls. She makes a record in their system that I've called, just in case. I keep talking to Jerry and I call the Portland police, and they send 2 officers out about an hour later and they pretty much laugh at me when I explain to them what's going on. I print out our chat log, give them the guy's full name and address, which I've already verified through Google as being legit, as far as Google can, and they tell me to just quit talking to him, simple as that, and they just go about their business. Wow, don't I feel stupid now. I call my friend back home and tell her what Portland PD did, and she said to keep an eye on things. If he keeps talking, just keep saving the conversation. So I do, for another 2 hours, and things just get to the point where I can't handle him anymore. He's battering me with questions about how do I want to die, wearing clothes or naked? Do I want to have sex before I die? Would I have a problem killing kids before? Would I want to hold hands with others while we hang? Finally, I just told him I'd be in touch closer to Valentine's Day. So after this, for the most part, I just laughed it off with some friends. Because Portland PD never got back to me about anything, so of course I just assumed it ended up being a very strange prank. Fast forward February 10th, 2005, a friend of mine calls me while I'm on campus on my way to work. He tells me some guy in Klamath Falls has been arrested for trying to set up a mass suicide pact for Valentine's Day. I'm floored. I run to my office, log into a computer, and sure enough, it's everywhere on all news forums. Gerald Crean arrested for plotting mass suicide Valentine's Day party. My friend from back home sees the news and calls me, tells me I need to call back to the Portland PD and tell them I called this in back in December. I make the call, and an hour later, 2 FBI agents are coming to pick me up at my job, taking me home, and taking my entire computer to be analyzed. We sit in my living room and I'm questioned over and over about my involvement and if I was really planning to commit suicide. I kept telling them over and over that I just talked to the guy as a joke. Thought it was some sort of prank and that I only called the cops when he started talking about some woman from Portland bringing her kids in too. And I'd given all the info to the Portland PD officers back in December. How was I supposed to know they never did anything with it? Which they didn't, they sat on it, probably shredded it, and never even sent any of the info to Klamath Falls. The agents tell me the story has gotten a lot bigger and that Crean had contacted hundreds of people. At least 30 had agreed to come on Valentine's Day to his house and commit suicide together. One woman, her parents found some emails between she and Crean and called the police. That's how they finally got involved, not from me, nearly 2 months ago. This happened less than a week before Valentine's Day. So I'm freaked out, they drop me back off at the college, and I tell my boss everything that's happened. She tells me that reporters have been calling non-stop since I left, wanting to talk to me. She said she didn't give any of them my cell phone number, but that she thought it was only a matter of time before they showed up at the office. I was a student worker, my name is on the campus website, directory, etc. If the AP got a hold of a police report, there was no saying how fast they could start tracking me down. I call my mom, tell her what's happened, and she tells me that she'll be up that evening to come and get me and bring me home for a break. I take 4 days off, turn in what assignments I have left as the FBI has the rest on my tower, and I head off to Eastern Oregon to wait out the media. Big mistake, huge mistake. Because by the time I made it back home that night, they had already tracked down my brother. And my sister-in-law thought it was so cool that ABC and CNN wanted to talk to me that she gave them my parents' address and my cell phone number. She's a fucking idiot. I was harassed, chased down, and semi-terrorized until I finally gave an interview to Good Morning America. I hoped it would die down then. The story was out. Who cares, right? Wrong. Completely wrong. Apparently every fucking outlet cares until you give them the 15 seconds of conversation that the others didn't get. I had my 15 seconds of fame and I never want to deal with that shit again. Crean is still sitting in the Salem State Hospital for his crimes of solicitation to commit murder. Hey everyone, just a few things to say before the video ends. I did do the second story a long time ago on my channel, but it was one of my old taken down videos and I really liked this story, so I decided to re-narrate it because the writer recently gave me permission to do so. Second, this video was originally supposed to have 3 stories, but the third story that I really wanted to do I couldn't get permission on. I was waiting a few days for this person to respond and it kind of messed me up because I can't begin editing until I have all the stories recorded. And I didn't want to record the story if I didn't have permission, so it was sort of like a big waste of time. And I tried adding another story that I had last second, but when I listened back to it, I just sounded not myself because I was so rushed. So I decided to just say fuck it and only have 2 stories, and I hope you understand. My bad if you don't like listening to stuff like this at the end of my videos, it's just that I feel like I have to explain myself when I think a video is not as good as it was supposed to be. It's spring break where I live right now and recording time is slim because of all the loud noise around me and it's pretty irritating to be honest. Also, if you guys remember in my last video where at the end of it I talked about all this random stuff happening to me that's preventing me from making videos, 40 minutes after I made that video, I'm not even kidding, 40 minutes, I left to go somewhere and planned on just taking a break from it all for a little bit and I got in a car accident again. And it was 100% not our fault again. On a brighter note, I just hit 200,000 subscribers and it's honestly probably my greatest achievement. I don't think it's quite hit me how many people that actually is, but maybe one day it will set in when I meet some of you. A lot of you have been here through everything. My computer breaking and me losing everything, 2 car accidents, health problems directly impacting my narrating, sickness, everything, and I sincerely appreciate it. But, as always, don't forget to send in your personal stories to the email in the description. I'll also have some merch and stuff there as well. By the way, the new design for the t-shirts is almost finished and it's the greatest thing ever, and I'll be announcing that on Twitter and stuff, so make sure you're following me on there. Stay safe and have an awesome day.